"Stop, I'll be your obedient wife," Apache widow begged in tears while the cowboy's gun rose. The wind moved slowly across the dry land, carrying dust and the smell of old grass. The land was wide and open, but it felt empty and heavy, like it was holding its breath. This place had once been full of life, laughter, and voices, but now it was quiet. Very quiet. Nailina stood near the small wooden shelter she had built with her own hands. It was not much, just rough boards, cloth, and stone, but it was all she had left. This land had belonged to her people for generations. Her mother was born here. Her grandmother had told stories here by the fire, and her husband had died here. She was a widow now. Her husband, Taza, had been a calm and honest man. He believed in peace, even when others believed in anger. He had tried to protect their family without raising his voice or his hand. But peace did not protect him. One night, during a time of fear and confusion between settlers and tribes, he never returned home. By morning, Nailina knew he was gone forever. Since that day, her life had changed completely. She no longer slept deeply. Every sound made her alert. Every shadow made her heart beat faster. She had two younger siblings to care for, both too young to understand why food was scarce or why their sister cried quietly at night. Nailina worked every day to keep them alive. She gathered roots, trapped small animals, and traded when she could. Some days were good. Many days were not. The settlers were coming closer. New fences appeared where open land once stretched freely. Horses passed through without asking. Men spoke loudly and looked at her land as if it already belonged to them. They did not see her as a woman protecting her home. They saw her as a problem. Nailina heard stories carried by travelers and traders. They spoke of a cowboy who worked for powerful ranch owners, a man who cleared land quickly, a man who followed orders without asking questions. Some said he never missed his aim. Others said he had no heart left. His name was Ethan Cole. People said that when he arrived, families disappeared, not always by force, but always by fear. He was not cruel for pleasure, but he was firm, cold. He believed the world was simple: you obeyed or you were removed. Nailina tried not to believe the stories. She focused on surviving one day at a time. But fear has a way of growing in silence. One evening, as the sun lowered and painted the sky in red and orange, Nailina noticed something different. The birds had gone quiet. The air felt tight. Her younger brother paused while eating and looked toward the hills. Someone was coming. She stood slowly, wiping her hands on her worn dress. Her heart began to pound. She told her siblings to stay inside and not make a sound. They obeyed without question. They had learned fear early. From a distance, she saw a man on a horse. He moved with confidence, like someone who belonged wherever he went. His posture was straight. His eyes scanned the land, sharp and careful. The horse beneath him was strong and calm, trained well. Everything about him spoke of control. This was not a traveler. As he came closer, Nailina could see more clearly. His face was marked by the sun and years of hard living. His clothes were simple but clean. He did not smile. He did not look angry either. He looked focused, like a man finishing a task. Ethan Cole stopped a short distance from her shelter. He did not greet her. He did not remove his hat. His eyes moved from the shelter to the land around it, measuring, judging. "This land is no longer yours," he said calmly. His voice was steady, without emotion. Nailina felt her chest tighten, but she did not step back. She had lost too much already. If she ran, there would be nowhere to go. "This is my home," she replied. Her voice trembled, but she forced herself to stand straight. "My family has lived here for many years." Ethan looked at her more closely now. He noticed the thinness of her arms, the tiredness in her eyes, the way her body stood protectively in front of the shelter. "You've been warned before," he said. "This land has been sold." "No one told us," Nailina said. "We have nowhere else." He was silent for a moment. The wind passed between them. In that pause, Nailina saw something behind his eyes, something tired, something heavy. but it disappeared quickly. "You need to leave by morning," he said. Fear rushed through her like cold water. Morning was too soon. She had no supplies, no animals, no safe path. Leaving meant losing everything. It might even mean death. "I can work," she said quickly. "I can follow rules. We won't cause trouble." Ethan shook his head slightly. "It's not my decision." He rested his hand near his weapon, not to threaten but as habit. Still, the movement made Nalena's breath catch. She remembered the night her husband never came home. She remembered the screams in the distance. She remembered standing alone at sunrise. Tears filled her eyes, but she did not wipe them away. "Please," she said, "I'm only trying to keep my family alive." Ethan hesitated again, this time longer. He had seen many people beg before. Most were lying, some were dangerous, but this woman did not look like a threat. She looked like someone standing at the edge of losing everything. He had been taught not to think. Thinking made things complicated. Orders made things simple. Still, something felt wrong. "I'll return in the morning," he said finally. "Be gone by then." He turned his horse away. Nalena watched him leave, her legs weak beneath her. When he disappeared beyond the hill, she collapsed to her knees. Her siblings rushed out, holding onto her, asking questions she could not answer. That night, sleep did not come. She sat by the small fire, staring into the flames, thinking of every story she had heard, every warning she had ignored. The land around her felt different now, unsafe, like it was slipping away. She did not know what she would do by morning. All she knew was that tomorrow her life would change forever. Morning arrived slowly, like it did not want to face what was coming. The sky was pale and the air was cold. Nalena had not slept. Her eyes burned, but her mind stayed sharp, moving from one thought to another without rest. She packed what little she could. A small bundle of dried food, a blanket worn thin with time, a few tools that once belonged to her husband. Her siblings watched her quietly. They did not ask questions. Fear had already taught them enough. But no matter how she planned, the truth remained the same. Leaving meant stepping into the unknown with almost nothing. Staying meant facing a man who carried authority and danger with him. As the sun lifted higher, the sound of hooves reached her ears. Her heart sank. Ethan Cole came into view again, riding at the same steady pace as before. Nothing about him suggested hurry or doubt. To him, this was just another task, another place to clear, another problem to solve. He stopped near the shelter once more. This time he looked around more carefully. He noticed the packed bundle, the tired faces of the children, the way Nalena stood between him and them without thinking. "You're still here," he said. Nalena swallowed. "We haven't left yet. You were told to go." "There is nowhere safe," she replied. "If we leave like this, we may not survive." Ethan's jaw tightened slightly. He looked away for a moment, scanning the land, as if searching for an easier answer somewhere beyond the hills. "This land is marked," he said. "More men will come. Not all of them will talk first." That warning landed heavy in the air. Nalena felt fear rise again, sharp and strong. She knew what he meant. She had heard stories of how things ended when others came. She stepped forward before she could stop herself. "Please," she said. Her voice broke, but she continued. "I will do what is asked. I will follow rules. I will stay quiet. Just don't force us away like this." Ethan looked at her directly now. For the first time, his eyes softened just a little, not with kindness but with understanding. He had seen this before, people pushed to the edge, offering whatever they had left. He dismounted from his horse. That single action made Nalena's breath catch. When he stood on the ground, he seemed taller, heavier, more real. He rested his hand near his side, not threatening but ready. It was clear he lived a life where being ready mattered. "You don't understand how this works," he said. "This isn't personal." "But it is personal to us," Nalena replied. "This is our life." Silence stretched between them. Ethan thought of the orders he had been given. Clear the land. No delays, no trouble. He had followed such orders for years. It paid well. It kept him alive. It kept his past buried. But looking at Naelina and her siblings, he felt something stir that he did not welcome. "This place won't protect you," he said. "Even if I walk away, others will come." "Then let us stay until we can prepare," she said. "Just a little time." Ethan studied her face. There was fear there, yes, but also strength. She was not asking for comfort. She was asking for a chance. He exhaled slowly. "I can't promise much," he said, "but I can promise this. No one touches this place for now." Hope flickered in Naelina's chest, small but warm. "But," he continued, "you must stay out of sight. No gatherings, no trouble. If anyone asks, you are under my watch." She nodded quickly. "We will obey." The word felt heavy, but she accepted it. Survival mattered more than pride. Ethan mounted his horse again. "I'll return," he said. "If things change, I'll warn you." As he rode away, Naelina felt relief mixed with fear. A door had not closed, but it had not fully opened either. Days passed. Ethan did return, sometimes bringing small supplies without explanation. He did not stay long. He spoke little, but his presence kept others away. Word traveled fast on the frontier, and his name carried weight. During these visits, Naelina watched him closely. She noticed how he never stayed near the fire, how he always faced outward, even when resting, how his eyes held a distant look like a man always walking with his past beside him. One evening, while her siblings slept, Ethan stood quietly near the edge of the land. "You could have left," he said without turning. "Why didn't you?" Naelina thought for a moment. "Because leaving without hope is the same as giving up," she said, "and my family deserves better." Ethan nodded slowly. He understood that feeling more than he wanted to admit. "I wasn't always like this," he said suddenly. Naelina did not interrupt. "I used to believe there were clear sides," he continued. "Good and bad, right and wrong, but the frontier blurs those lines." She listened carefully. "Does that trouble you?" "Yes," he said, "every day." The wind moved through the grass. The land listened. Ethan looked at the shelter again. "If anyone asks," he said, "you are here by permission, remember that." "I will," she replied. As he left that night, something had changed between them. Not trust, not friendship, but recognition. Two people caught in a system larger than themselves. But far away, men were planning. Papers were being signed. And decisions were being made that would soon test every fragile promise spoken on this land. Naelina did not know it yet, but the hardest days were still ahead. The days after Ethan's last visit felt different. The land was the same, the sky still wide and open, but something unseen had shifted. Naelina could feel it in the way the air seemed heavier, in the way even the children spoke more softly than before. She kept her promise. No fires at night, no movement beyond what was needed. She taught her siblings to stay hidden, to listen before they spoke, to move only when it was safe. Childhood had ended for them too early, but she did her best to protect what little innocence they had left. Ethan came less often now. When he did, he looked more tired than before. His face carried lines that were not just from the sun. They were lines made by choices. Each time he arrived, he scanned the land carefully, as if expecting trouble to rise from the ground itself. One afternoon, he arrived earlier than usual. The sun was still high and his horse was breathing hard. "You need to be careful," he said as soon as he stopped. Naelina's heart tightened. "What happened?" "People are asking questions," he replied. "About you, about this place." She nodded slowly. "I feared this day would come." "They think you know things," he continued. "Things you don't, or things they don't want known." Naelina looked toward the hills. "My husband died because of lies," she said quietly. "Is this the same?" Ethan did not answer right away. His silence was enough. That night Naelina could not sleep. She thought of her husband's final words, spoken long ago under a quiet sky. He had told her that truth was powerful but dangerous when spoken at the wrong time. At dawn, Ethan returned again. This time he did not stay on his horse. "I need to tell you something," he said. "And once I do, there is no turning back." She listened. "The land deal," he explained, choosing his words carefully, "was built on false claims." The papers say your people attacked first, that they abandoned this place willingly. That is not true, Nalina said. Her voice was steady, but her hands trembled. I know, Ethan replied. I found out. She looked at him sharply. Then why does it still stand? Because powerful men benefit from it, he said, and powerful men do not like being challenged. Nalina felt anger rise, but she kept it controlled. What does this mean for us? It means they want everything clean, he said. No witnesses, no questions. Fear settled deep in her chest. You said you would protect us, she said softly. I did, Ethan replied, and I still will, but protection has a cost. She met his eyes. Tell me. They will come, he said, soon, not to talk. Nalina took a slow breath. Then we must leave. Ethan shook his head. Leaving now would be worse. The roads are watched. They would not let you pass. She felt trapped. The land that once felt like safety now felt like a cage. What can we do? She asked. There is a record, Ethan said, hidden. Proof that the claims are false. If it reaches the right hands, everything changes. And if it does, she asked. Then nothing does, he said honestly. Nalina looked back at the shelter, at her siblings, at the life she had fought so hard to keep. Where is this proof? She asked. Ethan seemed surprised. You would risk this. I already have, she replied. Every day I stay here. That evening they spoke quietly by a fire kept small and low. Ethan told her about a meeting he had overheard. About a document hidden in a supply office near the main ranch. About a plan to remove all obstacles within days. They will send men, he said. Not many, enough. Nalina closed her eyes briefly. She did not ask what enough meant. I will go, Ethan said. Get the record. And if you don't return, she asked. Then you take the children and follow the river east, he replied. Do not wait. She nodded, though her chest felt tight. The night stretched long. Ethan left before sunrise. Nalina watched him disappear the same way she had watched her husband walk away years before. She whispered a prayer she was not sure anyone still heard. Hours passed. Then sounds came from the distance. Not hooves this time. Voices. Low, sharp, carrying on the wind. Nalina moved fast. She hid the children beneath the shelter floor, covering the opening with dirt and cloth. She told them not to move, not to speak, no matter what they heard. Then she stood alone. Men appeared at the edge of the land, 3 of them. Their faces were hard, their eyes searching. Where is the cowboy? One asked. I don't know, Nalina replied. They looked around. You've overstayed your welcome. This is my home, she said. One man laughed. Not anymore. They stepped closer. Nalina's heart pounded, but she did not run. She thought of her siblings hiding beneath her feet. She thought of Ethan riding hard toward danger. She thought of truth buried and waiting. Just as the men moved nearer, a familiar voice cut through the air. Step back. Ethan stood behind them, his presence sharp and firm. His posture alone stopped them. You were told this place was under watch, he said. One man sneered. Orders changed. Ethan's eyes narrowed. Then you speak to me first. Tension filled the space between them. No one moved. Finally, the men stepped away, muttering, This isn't over. Ethan waited until they were gone. Nalina's legs gave out and she sank to the ground. Ethan steadied her. I have it, he said quietly. She looked up. The record, he nodded. But now they know. Tears filled her eyes, not from fear but from relief and exhaustion. What happens now? She asked. Ethan looked toward the horizon. Now, he said, we stop running. The land was silent again, but this time it felt like it was listening. The next morning did not bring peace. It brought waiting. Nalina woke before the sun, her body stiff from fear and worry. Ethan was already outside, checking the land, watching the distant hills. He had not slept. She could see it in his eyes. They were alert, heavy, and focused, like a man standing in the middle of a storm that had not yet arrived. The record he carried stayed hidden beneath his coat. A few sheets of paper, worn and folded, yet powerful enough to change lives. Nalina understood that now. Truth was small and quiet, but it frightened those who built their lives on lies. We can't stay long, Ethan said. They'll come back. Then we must move, Nalina replied, but carefully. They spoke in low voices, planning each step. The children listened closely, sensing the seriousness of the moment. They did not complain. They did not cry. They held on to hope like a fragile thing they were afraid to drop. Ethan decided they would leave at dusk. Daylight was too open. Night was too dangerous. Dusk gave shadows without darkness, movement without being easily seen. Before leaving, Ethan did something unexpected. He walked toward the old boundary marker near the edge of the land and removed it. The sign that claimed ownership. The symbol that started everything. "This doesn't belong to them," he said quietly. Nalina watched him, feeling a mix of fear and respect. He was no longer just following orders. He was choosing a side. As the sun lowered, the sky turned soft and pale. They packed quickly and quietly. Nalina helped her siblings onto a small cart. Ethan led the way, guiding them toward the narrow path by the river, just as he had promised earlier. They had not gone far when trouble found them. Voices echoed behind them, not shouting, just enough to be heard. Ethan stopped and raised his hand, signaling them to stay still. He listened carefully, counting footsteps, measuring distance. His body moved with calm control, but Nalina could see the tension beneath it. "They followed," he said. Fear tightened her chest. "What do we do?" Ethan thought quickly. "You keep moving," he said. "I'll slow them." "No," she said firmly. "We stay together." He looked at her surprised, then he nodded. "All right, then we move smart." They left the cart and moved closer to the riverbank, where the ground was softer and tracks harder to follow. Ethan erased signs of their path when he could, using branches and water. Time felt slow, stretched thin by fear. Suddenly, a voice called out, "You can't hide forever." Ethan turned calmly. "You shouldn't be here," he said. Figures emerged from the trees, the same men as before, joined by others. Their faces showed no patience now. "Hand over the papers," one said. "This ends here." Ethan stepped forward, placing himself between them and Nalina. "It doesn't," he replied. "Not today." The air grew heavy. No one moved. Even the river seemed to pause. Nalina's heart raced, but she stood tall. She did not beg this time. She did not lower her eyes. She had done that once. Now she understood something important. Fear only fed those who used it. "You built your claim on lies," she said clearly, "and lies do not last." The men laughed, but it sounded forced. One stepped closer. "You think words will save you." Before Ethan could respond, a new sound reached them. Hooves, many of them. Everyone turned. From the hills came a small group of riders wearing official markings. Law officers, drawn by rumors, by whispers, by messages sent quietly ahead of time. Ethan had prepared more than Nalina knew. The men near them grew tense. Power shifted in silence. An officer stepped forward. "We've received reports of false claims and unlawful removals," he said. "We're here to ask questions." Ethan handed over the record without hesitation. The officer studied it carefully. His expression changed. "This changes things," he said. The men who had followed them began to step back. Confidence drained from their faces. "We'll be in touch," the officer said firmly. The riders stayed until the others were gone. Only then did the tension finally release. Nalina sank onto a rock, her strength fading. Ethan stood still, watching the horizon, making sure no one returned. "You didn't have to do this," she said softly. "Yes," he replied. "I did." They traveled with the officers to a safer place where the children could rest. Food was shared. Water was clean. For the first time in a long while, Nalina felt something close to peace. Later that night, Ethan sat alone, staring into a small fire. "You could leave now," Nalina said, joining him. "You've done enough." He shook his head. "Not yet." "Why?" she asked. "Because walking away before things are finished is how I lived before," he said. "And I don't want to live like that anymore." She understood. Days passed as questions were asked and truth spread. The land claim was paused. Investigations began. People who once felt untouchable suddenly felt exposed. But danger did not disappear overnight. One evening, as the sun dipped low, Ethan did not return from a short ride. Nailina felt unease settle in her chest. Time passed. The sky darkened. Then she saw him. He rode slowly, one hand pressed to his side, his posture tense. She ran to him. "You're hurt." "It's nothing," he said, but his face was pale. The officers helped him down. He had been confronted by someone desperate, someone trying to silence him. Ethan had escaped, but not without cost. As he rested, Nailina sat nearby, watching him breathe, listening to the quiet sounds of night. "You could have been lost," she said quietly. "So could you," he replied, "but you stood your ground." They shared a look filled with understanding, respect, and something deeper, shared survival. The land was no longer silent because it was afraid. It was silent because it was healing. And though the hardest moment had passed, both knew the final chapter was still waiting. The morning light came gently, as if it understood what everyone had been through. The sky was clear, and the air felt calmer than it had in a long time. Nailina stepped outside and breathed deeply. For the first time in many weeks, her chest did not feel tight with fear. Ethan was resting nearby, sitting against a tree. His movement was slow, but his eyes were clear. He looked up when he saw her. "You're awake early," he said. "So are you," she replied. He smiled faintly. It was a small thing, but it felt important. She had never seen him smile before. The officers returned that morning with news. The false claims were being removed. The land deal was canceled. The records Ethan had brought were enough to stop everything. The people who had tried to push others away from their homes would now be questioned. The land would be protected, at least for now. Nailina listened quietly, holding her siblings close. She felt relief wash over her, but also something else, sadness for all that had already been lost and could never return. When the officers left, the camp felt empty again, but not lonely. "You can go back," one officer told her before leaving. "Your land is safe." Nailina nodded. "Thank you." They did not rush back. Ethan needed time to recover, and Nailina understood patience now better than ever. Days passed slowly. The children laughed again, soft at first, then louder. The sound felt like sunlight. One evening, as the sky turned gold, Ethan stood and tested his strength. "I think it's time," he said. "To go back?" she asked. "Yes," he replied, "for you." "And you?" she asked. He looked away for a moment. "I won't stay." Her heart sank, though she had expected this. "Where will you go?" "Somewhere quiet," he said. "I've lived too long running from myself. I need to walk forward now." They traveled back to the land together. When Nailina stepped onto the familiar soil, tears filled her eyes. The shelter was still standing. The trees still whispered. The land had waited for her. She knelt and placed her hand on the ground. "I'm home," she whispered. Ethan watched quietly. He felt something settle inside him, a feeling he had not known for years. Peace did not come from winning or taking. It came from choosing right when it mattered most. They spent one last night there. No fear, no hiding, just quiet. The next morning, Ethan prepared to leave. He adjusted his bag and turned to Nailina. "You're strong," he said. "Stronger than you know." She met his eyes. "You chose mercy," she replied. "That matters," he nodded. "It's the only thing that ever will." He mounted his horse slowly. The children waved. Nailina stood still, watching him ride toward the horizon, not as a man running, but as one who had finally let go of his past. When he disappeared, the land felt full, not empty. Life did not become easy overnight. Nailina still worked hard, still faced long days and uncertain seasons, but fear no longer ruled her. She rebuilt the shelter, stronger than before. She taught her siblings not just how to survive, but how to hope. Sometimes travelers passed through and spoke of a quiet cowboy who helped where he could, then moved on. A man who no longer carried a heavy shadow behind him. Nailina would smile softly when she heard those stories. At sunset, she would stand on her land and watch the sky change colors, knowing that mercy had saved more than just one life. It had saved many. And in that wide, open place, Truth finally had room to breathe.